What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Always Compete Seahawks podcast. I am Sam, that is Mike, and that is Mr. Christopher Kidd from the Seahawks Man to Man podcast. Go check it out. It's one of my favorites. I listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
Great content over there. For real, go check it out. Chris, welcome onto the podcast.
Good day, gentlemen. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the love and support. So thanks for having me on again, man.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming on.
Easy.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm excited. Seahawks football begins tomorrow. It's guaranteed to be another roller coaster of emotions, but I'm still excited no matter what. So we're gonna be breaking down what we think could happen this season, whether that's breakout players that might disappoint. Even if you think that a Seahawks player is going to win an award, some record predictions, general record predictions, stuff like that. And I'm ready to dive on in. I'm very interested to see what the Seahawks season will look like. I feel like it could either go that the offense plays well and the defense doesn't reach its full potential, and they kind of are stuck in this range of this range that the Seahawks have been in basically every year since 2016 or 2015, where we're pretty good, but we're not good enough to go all the way. Or they're going to be in the situation where the defense steps up and the defense plays well, and just like that, we're a Super Bowl contender. So I feel like this season is a big hit or miss. It could be the casual Seahawks season that we see in the recent years where 11-6, 12-5, but then we lose in the first or second round because we lose that firepower that other teams have that we don't.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an anomaly for me. I feel like the biggest question mark for me personally is, can the defense pick up on the momentum that it had last year? Frankly, not worried about the offense, not worried about any of that. I'm very much worried about the defense. Played really, really well at the end of last season. If they can just do that again and the offense can play, honestly, if the defense plays like that again and the offense can put up 20, 25 points a game, we're going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. So, Chris, kind of what are your thoughts on just overall how the Seahawks team is shaped and where you think they could head and what needs to happen for them to be successful?
It's funny you mentioned the offense and the defense and your thoughts, and I was actually listening to Uncle Shannon Sharp's podcast, and he had Warren Sapp on early January, and I'm just finally listening to it. And Warren Sapp said something interesting that I've been thinking about all day, and he said, it's not a defensive game anymore. It's all about offense. And you look at who won the Super Bowl, who was in the Super Bowl, two offensive juggernauts. And when I say juggernauts, I mean teams that are loaded offensively. And they had cool defenses. To be honest, the Buccaneers defense was better because on the Chiefs defense, there's only maybe a handful of names that people can name off top. Frank Clark, Tyrann Mathieu. Outside of that, you're like, who else on that defense? And you look at the Bucs, there's probably a bunch of guys you can name, but that defense was legit. And that stuck with me because I look at what the Seahawks offense, and I look at their defense, and then I look across the league, and I'm like, man, Warren Sapp's onto something because it is all about the offense. And when you look at the Seahawks offense, it can either go one or two ways, right? It could really take off, or it could kind of be in the middle. And with the acquisition, well, I guess of the draft, they take Dwayne Eskridge, a talented guy, but we haven't seen him yet. He didn't play any preseason games, and the time he did play, it was a couple of snaps, and he showed flashes. Is that going to be enough? DK Metcalf, is he going to take the next level where those drops that we're seeing are eliminated? He's a guy that shouldn't have drops, right? And you got to think about Russell Wilson, his ability to create plays, which is a great thing, but also it can hinder the team because he's holding the ball too long when someone's wide open, whether it be Ty Lockett, DK Metcalf. You bring in Gerald Everett. So I bring that Warren Sapp up quote because I'm now wondering, does it matter if the defense is good or bad? You said 20, 25 points per game. I think they need to be 25, maybe 30 points per game. You look at the Super Bowl contenders, people that are in the Super Bowl, with the Bucs and Chiefs, I don't know off top, but I'm willing to bet they were probably averaging north of 27 points per game.
Mhm.
And that's where the Seahawks need to be offensively. And I'll be honest, I don't know if they can consistently do that. They should be, but I don't know if they will be. And that's where the O-line comes into play. They bring in Gabe Jackson. Okay, that's helped. Dwayne Brown's back. He's going to be playing maybe a little angry. It sounds like, based off the press conference, he was pretty happy with what the Seahawks were able to do with his contract. But overall, this is going to be very interesting. They're going to be tested week 1. The Colts have a pretty solid the front 7 for the most part. Solid front 7. The corners are a question mark. If you guys watched or listened to our podcast recently, we had Mr. Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts for The Athletic, and he was basically saying that, the front 7's fast. It's quick. They're solid, but the cornerback situation is a question mark, and now Xavier Rhodes is out.
Right.
The Seahawks have an opportunity to get out the floodgates and punish this Colts secondary. It won't be easy. I get it. It's the NFL. Everyone's good. There's a reason why everybody was drafted. They're all talented. But when you're playing against a team that doesn't have their starting corner and Xavier Rhodes, you're talking about a third-year guy in Rock Ya-Sin, who grabs a lot, who holds a lot. They got to test them, and they have the perfect guys to do that. They have a DK Metcalf. They have a Tyler Lockett. They have a Freddy Swain. They got a Dwayne Eskridge. So I'm really curious to see how the Seahawks attack this Colts defense. And if they come out and they win, they put up 30 points, I think we are looking at a new offense. Now, the question is, will Pete allow this to happen throughout the season, regardless of what the defense does? Because ultimately, what we saw last season with the Seahawks having a hot start, sure, they were winning games 41-33 and things of that nature, but they were winning. The defense, Warren Sapp literally said this is an offensive league, and it really is. It's almost like 7-on-7. You can't hit. Blocking has changed. The game is a new game. The game is in a new era. It's a new stage. Everything's different. Everything's faster. So if the Seahawks are going to try to go to this, run it, take the time off the clock, other teams that have decent defenses, but it can score a lot, they're going to benefit more. So I am more anxious to see what the Seahawks do on Sunday against the Colts more than anything, because that'll kind of set the stage for how the season might go. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully the Seahawks come out, they blow the doors open, and Pete doesn't do anything. He doesn't change anything. They just stay the same. But if Pete doesn't like what he's seeing, Russ is turning the ball over, they're winning games 44, they're scoring 30 points, 33, to 27, and he doesn't like the gameplay, I'm afraid we're going to revert back to maybe what we saw last season, where Pete said, nope, pump the brakes, slow things down. Shane, you're doing too much. And that could come back to bite the Seahawks in the postseason.
I agree with a lot of what you said. First off, you talked about, Pete last year, really in the second half, the offense just looked way more conservative. We were running the ball way more. We weren't allowing Russ to be in the kitchen and cook. And me and Sam are both big believers in Shane Waldron. I think all that pre-snap motion is going to help. I think those jet sweeps, ends arounds. Russell Wilson has historically been very, very efficient with play action. And, it's a big part of what they're going to want to do. So I just hope that this offense can eliminate those turnovers, keep Pete happy, because, that's what just grinds his gears more than anything else is turnovers. And I remember, I think it was the Thursday night game against Arizona where Russ threw 3 picks. I saw Pete just fuming. I think that right there was when it ended. So I hope, this offense can be more efficient, but just, continue to take those deep shots down the field. You have a freak of a human being, DK Metcalf. You need to throw him those deep balls. D. Eskridge was brought in to be more speed as the third wide receiver. You need to let him, go deep and take those deep shots. And come on, we're not even going to talk about the fact that Russell Wilson throws the prettiest deep ball in the NFL. And I don't even think that's debatable. So I really, really hope that, Pete can let Shane Waldron be Shane Waldron, and that him and Russ just can gel a lot. Another thing that you said that really caught my attention is when you were talking about, the Warren Sapp quote, and then you brought up, the Bucs defense. But their front 7 was really good. My biggest, kind of thing that I think the Seahawks are very underrated at, I would say the majority of people don't think the Seahawks have a great defense. But what I would say is, in the second half of the last season, we led the NFL in sacks. We're getting Carlos Dunlap for a whole year. We're getting Jamal Adams for a whole year, healthy, hopefully, fingers crossed. Darrell Taylor is coming back. We added Kerry Hyder. You know what I mean? Al Woods and Puna Ford are starting tackles. I think we're going to have a really good pass rush this year.
Yes.
I'm very excited. So just kind of take me through like what is your thought process on the front seven, more specifically like the pass rush?
My question marks, honestly, would be no KJ Wright,
Yeah.
and Daryl Taylor's going to get attacked, as well as Jordan Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
You're losing a lot with KJ. KJ was literally a man that sees a screen, sees a formation, and just knows it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying Jordan Brooks and Daryl Taylor can't do it, but that's going to be a learning experience because this is their first year in that role. Before it was KJ, and Daryl was hurt, unfortunately.
Right.
But now they're going to be tested. The coach is a perfect test. Reason being, Nyheim Hines. You know what he's good at? Catching out the backfield, creating plays. They're going to be testing them. I know Bobby's going to be fine. The corners it might be a little scary because I honestly don't know really what went down with Akello. I don't know.
We were wondering that same thing.
To be honest, the closest thing I heard, and I'm not saying this is fact, he might not have been comfortable with Pete Carroll's way of kick step.
Yeah,
with
like
the cornerbacks, he wasn't with it. He couldn't get it, or he didn't want to do it Pete's way. Whatever the reason was, the Seahawks said we'll be better off without you. And I thought Akello looked fine. But back to the front seven, again, Daryl Taylor and Jordan Brooks, they're going to get their share of Nyheim Hines on Sunday. I guarantee it. Mm-hmm. Because those are two newbies. It's not KJ Wright. When KJ was there, he was getting pass breakups, interceptions, plays in the backfield. That's not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to definitely attack that.
Yeah.
Now, my hope is that they're ready. They've been watching film. If you know who Nyheim Hines is, you know what he's good at. Mm-hmm. So when you see him in the backfield, it's 9 times out of 10, he's going to catch it. They might run it to him maybe now and then, but he is a talented receiving running back. I am really interested in seeing how those two figure things out. It's going to be fast. It's going to be moving. Bobby's going to be trying to communicate because when Bobby and KJ played, it was just, oh, yeah, okay, cool, we good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that now. It's going to be, no, Jordan, here. Daryl, no. It's going to be more communication. Whereas with KJ and Bobby, it was like look and see, and it was like, we got it. We're good. We know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. Or even freestyling. These two young guys might not have that luxury of freestyling because Bobby is going to be wondering what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
So that dynamic there is going to be huge for week 1. And it's going to be tested throughout the regular season. Teams are going to figure it out. They see, oh, KJ's gone. Let's try to attack the young guys. And all Bobby can do is coach them up. Bobby can show them the film. He can be a leader in that regard, but those guys have to do it, and they're going to get their share, I think, Sunday against the Colts, and I want to see how they react. And if they make mistakes, cool. Okay, how do you respond to that mistake? Do you let it happen again? Are you able to realize, okay, they've done this twice now. They're probably going to attack me again. How can I be better this next time around? Those are all the things I'm going to be looking at for this matchup Sunday because it's a great test. It really is. It's a perfect matchup. You lose KJ, you're going to use Daryl Taylor more as a pass rusher off the edge, and he can drop into coverage, and you're going to have Jordan Brooks playing KJ Wright's position. Mm-hmm. You're going up against Nyheim Hines, and you're wondering who's on that receiving core for the Colts. No Tyreek Hill, or not Tyreek Hill, excuse me, T.Y. Hilton, mm-hmm. but they still have weapons that can make plays, and that the corners are going to be tested as well. So, yeah, the front seven, the pass rush, I think is going to be really good. I don't know if you guys saw the PFF rankings. They disrespected the Seahawks pass rush. I don't know what they were thinking, but
100%.
I don't want to get too much into the details, but they had them 29th out of 32 teams, which is, I mean, even to be honest, I will say this, maybe last year's pass rush prior to week 8-9 before they got Carlos Dunlap, sure, that's a fair argument. But now what they have, you can't do that. Not going into the season.
No.
There's way too much talent. The upside is there. This team should be within the top 10 of sacks this season, in my opinion. And that's good for Jamal Adams because he shouldn't have to do that. He shouldn't have to blitz as much. Now Jamal Adams can be the guy flying around the field, be in the box, and slow down the run game. And sure, if you want to blitz him maybe now and then, cool. But he doesn't have to be we have to blitz Jamal because our pass rush isn't getting enough pressure. Now Jamal gets to be the guy we kind of saw week 1 against Atlanta. He still, I think, had maybe 1 or 2 sacks, but he was just all over the field, wreaking havoc, making plays. That's the Jamal I want to see. I have no problem with him blitzing, but the reason they were blitzing him was because it wasn't efficient to send the 4 guys that they were sending. So this season, I'm really excited to see the dynamic of the pass rush and how Jamal's being used in the box.
100%.
Yeah. So you were kind of talking about the loss of KJ Wright and what that means for this team, which in my opinion, that's a bigger loss than Shaq Griffin. I mean, Shaq Griffin was a very good he was a good corner for us, and he had moments where he really showed what we all hoped from him, which was consistent Pro Bowl, lockdown Richard Sherman replacement, which is all what we wanted when he played in his rookie season next to Sherm, and then Sherm got hurt and he played, and that's what we wanted. We never really saw it, but KJ Wright was so valuable, especially last year, watching what he brought to this defense and watching what he overall brought to the team. You talk about just being that veteran, having that knowledge of knowing what's going to happen at all times. Now, Bobby will be playing next to Jordan Brooks, who's a second-year player. I have a lot of confidence in him. I think he'll probably be, if I had to pick a breakout player for the Seahawks this year, I would probably say either like maybe Gerald, Everett, or Jordan Brooks. I think those are the 2 guys who have the highest potential. And then he's going to be playing next to Daryl Taylor, who's never played in a regular season NFL game, and I don't think he's ever played with starters, ever. So it's a big, big, big time question mark. I'm very interested in seeing how that plays out. Now, I kind of want to move on to talking about breakout players, right? Talking about Jordan Brooks and Gerald Everett, guys who were brought in because Jordan Brooks now has a very high upside that he's taking over that KJ Wright spot. Gerald Everett is coming into an offense that he knows where he's going to be the number 1 tight end definitively. If you had to pick a player who you would, if somebody walked up to you on the street and just said, for $1, name a player that you think will break out for the Seahawks,
Ooh.
What do you have?
Man, that is a great question. I want to say Freddy Swain, to be honest.
Ooh.
I think he has a lot to prove. Freddy Swain last year, when he got in the game, he made plays. When the ball was thrown to him or it was handed to him, he made plays. And now when they drafted Dwayne, I'm sure, he doesn't take it personal. He understands it's a business. But I think deep down, he realizes, like, oh, he's coming from my 3rd spot at receiver. He's not coming in to be a backup, be the 4th guy. He's coming in to, DK, Tyler, Dwayne. I think Freddie is one guy for sure. I know you didn't say how many, so I'm gonna give you 2. So I'm gonna give you Freddy Swain, and then I'm gonna go defense. I think a breakout year. I want to say either Marquise Blair or DJ Reed. And you know what? DJ Reed had a great year last year. I mean, he kind of broke out then. He's probably going to continue his play. I'm going to go ahead and say Marquise Blair. I think after his injury, week 2, I believe it was last year, he hurt his knee. Or maybe it was week 1. I know it was early in the season.
It was 2. It was week 2 against Patriots, yeah.
Okay, week 2 against the Patriots. He got hurt. And the ceiling, we were expecting him to just blossom into this stud, and unfortunately he got hurt. But now with how the Seahawks are using him, I think he can have a breakout year. He's a hard hitter, he knows the game, and he plays with just a reckless abandon. He don't care. He's just out there flying around. So offensively, I'm going Freddy Swain. Hopefully, Freddie, back me up on this, man. No disrespect to Dwayne Eskridge. Everybody can eat, but I think you can do phenomenal things because when Russ got you the ball last season, you made plays. And then I'm going to go defensively. I'm going to go with the corner nickelback, Marquise Blair. I think he has upside, and he has a lot to prove. I would say Quandre Diggs, but that's too easy.
Yeah, it's too easy. I really like the Freddy Swain pick. And me and Sam have talked about this a couple of times. My pick for months has been Rashad Penny. I really, really have hope in Rashad Penny. It's dwindling a little bit, but I'm holding strong on the Rashad Penny bandwagon. But I think Freddy Swain is very, very good answer because, like you said, Dwayne Eskridge is coming for a spot. I think last year, I don't think there was a big competition outside of, obviously DK Tyler. I don't think the receiver room was really too solid outside of that. now, you bring this guy. He's their number one draft pick, so he's obviously they really like him. So I think Freddy Swain, the fire's under his butt to perform well. I really liked the Freddy Swain pick. I wasn't even thinking Freddy Swain, but I really like it. So
Yeah, no one really thinks about it because it's like, what else can he bring, Chris?
yeah,
But it's the fact that on third down, everyone's keying in on DK. Everybody's keying in on Tyler Lockett. Okay, so what about Freddie Swain? And who comes up? Freddie Swain, and he gets the catch, first down, goes back to the bench.
Yep.
Sure, it's possession plays, but that just builds trust with your quarterback. Russ is like, on third down, I know if DK and Ty and anyone else is locked up, there's always Freddie. And that's kind of what I noticed in watching film on Freddie. He just found a way to get open and get the ball.
Yeah.
He didn't blow you away with his stats. He didn't have 500 plus yards, 6-7 touchdowns. He was consistent in what he needed to do when he got in the game. When he got in the game, he was getting the ball, pretty much is what I'm going with. And I think this season, he can take it to the next level because a lot of people are going to pay attention to Dwayne Eskridge. They are probably not too familiar with what he can do. But if you flip on the tape, watch what he did in college, you'll realize, okay, he's an explosion type player. He's a get it and he's gone. Slant, curl, anything, 10 to 12 yards. If he catches it in space and makes a player miss, he's gone.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great challenge for Freddie. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he is used this season because I get it. They're not going to bring in Dwayne to do nothing. He's going to get some playing time, but I do know third down be looking like, is Freddie out there? Okay, Freddie's okay. Let's see what happens here. So I'm really interested in that for sure.
Yeah, right. So you kind of earlier we talked about Shane Waldron and really whether Pete will let him do his thing. And we talked and I think I remember a podcast from last year where you guys talked. It was later in the year when the offense really began to struggle and we went towards a more conservative, run the ball, low risk throws, let's not force turnovers kind of thing later in the year. And you brought, and I think it was the pizza analogy. You said, Russ, Shoddy, and Pete are all ordering a pizza.
Yeah, that was Mike. Yep.
Yeah, and they want to decide what they want on it. At the end of the day, Pete kind of controls what ultimately goes on that pizza, no matter what anybody says.
Yep.
And that's kind of what you guys said. Russ, who is by far the most important person on this team, not even player, just like person on this team. I'm a believer that if we have Russ, that's an easy that's like a guaranteed like 4 or 5 wins right there. Just with Russ because he makes that magic and he makes it happen. So going on with Shane Waldron. Shane is bringing over a Rams West Coast Kyle Shanahan-like system. And I saw a stat somewhere that I think that the Rams were either the top or one of the leaders in or I guess technically on the bottom of how long does the quarterback hold the ball on throws, and they were among the shortest times in the NFL. My question is really fast. What do you think Waldron bringing this kind of quick pass, if he can do what he wants, quick pass, maybe a little RPO action in there, how do you think that will benefit the offensive line and what the and how the offensive line will be able to play easier and play with less weight on their shoulders, knowing that instead of holding blocks for 4, 5, 6 seconds while you're waiting for Russ to make a deep ball, you only need to hold your blocks for a couple seconds. Russ can get that ball out, and then you're on to the next play. So how do you think the O-line will benefit from the Waldron system coming in?
I will say this is probably – not probably. I think this is Wilson's best offensive line to date. I think – say again?
I said I could agree with that for sure.
Yes. So with that being said, I'm not sure if Shane Waldron's offense is going to – well, actually, I know it will. But what I'm getting at is basically that with this offensive line, they shouldn't have too many problems with that. Even if Russ were to hold it, 3 to 4 seconds, this is a talented offensive line. Mike Iupati wasn't really getting it done. That's why he ended up being. That's why he retired.
Mhm.
Ethan Posick got hurt. Kyle Fuller steps up. Cool. Dwayne Brown, stud. Brandon Shell, go ahead.
I mean, Dwayne Brown is, the creme de la creme of this offensive line. I feel like the O line is like having him at least gives us some comfort. I remember when I think we had like during those like bad years, like 2016, 2017 era. I think it was like Giacomini or somebody who.
Oh my god!
Wasn't good.
No,
it was bad. So go ahead and continue with what you're gonna say.
So even with the quick pass, it's good because it's kind of what the league is doing. They're passing now. And if if Pete really just wants to run it, but at the same time, he kind of understands that the league is moving towards a quick game, a passing game. Okay, the least I can do here is we'll just do quick passes, which means it'll be hike behind the line of scrimmage to Dwayne Eskridge, Freddy Swain. DK, not too shifty, but you know what? Who wants to tackle DK?
Yeah, he'll run you over, yeah.
Exactly. Those three guys, I could see that happen. Even Rashad Penny, you mentioned he's one of your breakout players. He is someone that can do that. So those are 4 players right there that even DJ Dallas, 5, okay? So those are guys you can draw up smoke screens, quick screens in general for to make plays out of the backfield because, A, Pete is really old school and he wants to ground and pound and control that clock.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one way to do it because it should be a 99% completion right there.
Yeah.
And everyone, I've been asked about, what happened with Shotty. I think Shotty just was like, you kidding me? I got DK. Like, why am I doing quick stuff? Sure, I can fake a quick slant or fake a little quick screen, but I have DK. Like, I'm just going to send him 40 yards down the field. The O-line should do their part and block, and it's a touchdown. That didn't always happen. That ended up Russ not throwing it because he wasn't confident. He couldn't see. Pressure was in the backfield, whatever the case may be. Now with this new offense, I think the quick game is more so Pete not wanting to let go of the run game, but with the quick game, it's still kind of like we're kind of running it because think about it. You snap the ball, I'm automatically know where I'm going, whether it be to the left side or the right side. There was a play against the Rams, I want to say it was week 6, where the DB read it and picked it off for a pick 6. Teams are going to be trying to do that now, where they're going to try to read it. And it's important that they give the same look, but now maybe it's a fake screen to a fade route. That opens up more and more for the offense. Or it's a fake screen and a handoff to Chris Carson, where the middle should be wide open. All he has to do is get by the linebacker, and he can get a 25, 30-yard game. Or if it's a Rashad Penny, that's a house call. This offense now is built upon reaction and up-tempo. We saw a little bit of it in the last preseason game where there was no huddle. And you don't really see that too often unless it's a 2-minute drill. But we were seeing that with 13 minutes on the clock. And that was cool to see. But now what happens with the O-line if they get tired? Because those guys don't get tired the quickest. Those are your biggest guys. They're doing a lot of work conditioning-wise. What are they going to look like in week 13, week 16, week 17 now? That's going to be what I'm paying attention to throughout the season is how they progress with that up-tempo. Because before, like I said, the Seahawks weren't running up-tempo. There were times where they would blow a timeout because they didn't know what they were doing in the first quarter with 10 minutes left. So that needed to change, and I'm sure Pete was not happy with that. But now you're bringing it up-tempo, and I wonder how much autonomy Russ is going to have within the offense to make changes. Mm-hmm. Because that's going to be key as well. If Russ sees something, and Shane's on the field, but Russ sees something that he's like, yeah, that's safety, I'm not sure. Can he change it? I'm sure Russ can, but what does Pete think about that? And that whole discussion. So this is all going to be very fun and watching how the offense progresses because, to be honest with Shotty, he did a few quick stuff. It wasn't to the point enough tempo-wise, but he was letting that ball go. We saw it for the first 8 weeks.
Yeah.
We saw what I had no problem with it. I was enjoying it. I was like, damn, Russ, MVP discussion.
Yeah.
He said, nah. That's what we're not going to do.
We go run the ball.
We are going to run the football, and we are going to control the clock. And I forget what game it was, but they won like 20 to like 16. And Pete was like, "Yeah, that's the football I like."
Was that Washington? Washington, I think.
I think it might have been. I think you're right.
Washington.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. It was just a ugly. I think Russ threw for like maybe 200 yards, and I mean maybe. And I think he had one touchdown, and that's the Pete Carroll way. Instead of throwing the ball across the field, putting up 37 points. Sure, you gave up 17, but it wasn't close.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of team that the Seahawks could be, but Pete's looking at it, oh, they're not the Legion of Boom defense, so we can't do all those things. No.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about that, Pete. You got DK.
Mm-hmm.
You got Ty Lockett.
Yep.
All these weapons. You go score. You go put points on the board. The defense needs to figure it out. You traded for Jamal Adams. You go and get Carlos Dunlap. In the offseason, you get Kerry Hyder, you bring back Benson Mayowa, you have revamped this defense. There's a reason why you have 11 offensive players, 11 defensive players. You have an offensive coordinator, you have a defensive coordinator. Offense, go and do your thing, and as a head coach, you are the overseer. You can put your opinions, but you don't have to change everything and take it all away and make it, I want it this way, because that ended up being their demise against the Rams. The Rams knew what they wanted to do. The Rams we know you want to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
We'll let you run. You're not going to beat us with the pass. And that's the one thing that I'm curious is that going to change? Are they going to say, no, we're going to beat you with the pass. It's going to be quick stuff, but we're going to make you guys work. So I'm really excited for this season. So much to think and talk about. Tomorrow it starts.
I know. I'm counting down.
Tomorrow, Sunday it starts. Excuse me, Sunday.
It's 12, 15 hours, 40 minutes down to the minute right now.
Man, we're getting close.
Getting close.
I can feel the energy. And wrapping up here, we have a little bit more time left in this Zoom meeting. So kind of wrapping up the big question that everybody cares about. Where do you think this team is going? Record-wise, if they make the playoffs, how far could they go? What do you think?
Record-wise, they'll go 12-5, I think. I think 12 wins is, especially with this new, they added a game. So 12 plus 5 is 17, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So my math is good there. 12-5. I think they probably end up losing in a divisional round, maybe to Green Bay. I think that's kind of how it ends. I just think offensively, there's a lot to be seen. They fire Schottenheimer because of differences. Okay. Defensively, the cornerback spot is kind of scary right now. You mentioned losing Shaquille Griffin. Having Shaquille Griffin right now would be okay. We're okay. You got Shaquille and DJ. I'm cool with that. Right now, it's DJ and according to Sidney Jones, he is going to play on the right side. We'll find out Sunday because I honestly don't know. Trey Flowers, he is talented, but for some reason, he is not comfortable with running down the sideline with a wide receiver looking at him. And when the receiver looks for the ball, he forgets to turn his head and look for the ball. And if he did that, he would be phenomenal. There are so many times I'm watching Trey Flowers. Oh, great position. Turn your head. Turn your head. He doesn't turn his head. I remember Mike and I were watching the game together. And Trey Flowers, was it Trey Flowers? Regardless, whoever it was, I'm like, turn your head, turn your head. Didn't turn their head. It's so simple. Have you guys been to training camp?
I haven't. I live in Illinois.
I wish, but
okay. Excuse me. My apologies. Have you been to any football practices, NFL wise?
Yes.
Okay.
I have not. But...
You have not? Okay. Well, they do a drill. I don't know what it's called, but they do it with the position teams. You got the cornerback, safeties, or DBs, linebackers, D-line. There's a drill where the DB backpedals. He goes into a nice little stride. He turns his head, looks for the ball, and he intercepts it. They do this drill over and over and over and over to the point where if you close your eyes as a DB, you can go outside on a field and you can do that drill on the sideline. And you could, if someone threw the ball, you could probably get your hands on it. That's how many times they do it. The fact that he is still not doing it drives me bananas. That alone scares me because when he gets in the game and he's going up against a week 2 AJ Brown or Julian or a Julio Jones, you have to be able to make that read, or they're going to just eat you alive. There's no room for running with your hand up, looking at them, and the ball's coming. Those guys are too talented. They're going to go up, pinpoint it, and snag it on you.
Mhm.
If you turn your head, you can make a play on the ball. And as uncomfortable as it may be, because that's what I tell Mike, I said, maybe he's just not comfortable with it. Maybe he panics, and that's okay. Everyone gets a little nervous. I'd be surprised if players like, I don't get nervous. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Whatever. He needs to figure out how to overcome that, because he would make so many plays on the football. 12-5. I think they lose in the divisional round, whether it be to the Rams, Green Bay. My hope is they don't. They go to the Super Bowl. That'd be lit. But
That'd be awesome.
I don't see it happening this season.
Yep.
All right.
I'm in that same realm. Good amount of wins. It's the same thing that we've seen the last 5 years of. Oh, in the regular season, I'm thinking we're pretty good. This is the year, and then we lose in the wild card or the divisional because of some dumb mistake, or a player has to come in and he just doesn't play at all, doesn't play well, and like the Green Bay thing where Trey Flowers.
Don't even bring that up, bro.
Adams and
Don't even bring that up.
Like 180 yards or something.
Wasn't good. Wasn't good.
It was not great, but. Chris, we appreciate you for coming on. Everybody, go check out the Seahawks Man-to-Man podcast. It is him and Mike Dugar on there. So if y'all want to go check that out, go show him some love. Very good podcast. And Chris, we appreciate you for coming on and talking some football with us.
No problem.
And we appreciate y'all for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.
Go